Of you know that I recorded 4 of these daily videos on one day, but today I'm back in Phoenix, and it was interesting. It was my first flight, first time to leave Phoenix on a plane in a year, and yeah, flights are different. Planes were crowded. The airport didn't seem as crowded. I think they've cancelled a lot of the flights or something, and so the ones that are there are full. But it was good to, be taking some steps slowly back towards normalcy. Well, I want to just bring you a little thought today. I'm not going to go into it a lot, but on this trip, there were a couple of things that happened, and when they happened, they registered to me as special moments. Somebody that I respect came up to me and really gave me a big hug and told me how much they enjoyed talking. And, it would be easy to overlook that moment. So my thought and my prayer was, I need to come to you today and remind you how precious such moments are. Sometimes they're breakthrough moments for each of us, and sometimes they're just, I've had moments like that where I've just realized that in a moment life can change. I'm sure I've told you the story before, but many years ago, as you know, I used to run sound at the church, and I was on the platform winding up some mic cables, and Sister Bohr, many of you remember Sister Bohr, she was standing there on the platform, and I was talking to her as I was walking backwards winding this cable, and I wasn't looking where I was going, and guess what? I tripped over, I banged my head, actually cut my head, and so somebody, I don't remember who, but somebody took me off to the hospital, and we went into ER. Well, the first moment there was me, right? I should have been paying attention, but in a moment of carelessness, that could have turned out very differently. But when I was in the hospital, I was in ER, and you know how they put you in one little room. Well, in the next cubicle over, all I could hear was somebody screaming in pain. And it turned out that the man in that cubicle next to me, something had gone wrong with his air conditioner. So he went up on the roof to fix his air conditioner, and in doing so lost his balance and fell off the roof and landed on his concrete patio. And I remember thinking at that moment, that one little slip, that one instant changed that man's life forever. And it only takes a minute. It takes a minute for something like that to happen, but it can also just take a minute for the Lord to move on your circumstances, and something that seemed totally impossible can be changed in a moment. And I just want today to encourage us all to be people who are sensitive and who understand those moments. Now, sometimes those moments occur, and we interpret them as bad, and they turn out to have been good, or vice versa. You know how that is. I read this week of some hunters who were up in Montana, and apparently there was a wolf pack up there that was decimating the wildlife, and so a $5,000 reward was given for each wolf that could be captured, or I guess killed, I don't know. But these two guys were up there in the mountains trying to find wolves, and they labored. They'd gone everywhere they knew, hunted everywhere they knew for 3 whole days, and they had no real success. And on the last night, they just went to bed exhausted, and one of them woke up in the middle of the night to find that they were absolutely surrounded by wolves. And it was a very dangerous situation because there were lots of them, and they were coming at them from all sorts of different directions. So this guy poked his friend, and he said, "Hey, wake up, wake up. We're going to be rich." So there was a moment. It was a moment of danger, but it was also a moment of opportunity. I believe the Lord can just put moments of opportunity in our life. The question is, are we going to recognize them? I'm sure you've heard the story of IBM. Many years ago, IBM was engineering their new computer. It was what subsequently became known as a personal computer. But the operating system, which has to go with every computer, the one they were looking at was called CPM, and it was invented by this guy. He had an appointment with IBM, and for whatever reason, whether he misunderstood the schedule or whatever, but on that particular day, instead of meeting with IBM, he went out to try out his new boat. And that one slipped appointment changed his life, and it changed the computing industry forever, because IBM apparently got offended and went to talk to this other young guy whose name was Bill Gates, and look where that went. So, those are business opportunities. But I just became aware this week, Lord, just help me to be aware. Help me to be sensitive to those moments. Sometimes they're moments of opportunity. Sometimes we're given the chance to witness to somebody, to say something, to encourage somebody. And, many times I think we fail to catch the moment. And, then we look at it and say, oh my goodness, I should have done X or I should have done Y. I just want to be a moment grabber. I want to be the person that is sensitive to those things. I've been reading, as you will gather, Acts chapter 5, and we're talking about Gamaliel. I'm not going to teach on this particular aspect of it on Sunday, but Gamaliel, you'll recall, stood up in the middle of the court, in the middle of the Sanhedrin, and he spoke. And I'll talk on Sunday about the different views of what he said and whether he was what some people say he was. But the fact of the matter is, it was his moment. He stood up, and whether he rose to the occasion or didn't is open to some debate. But it was his moment. And so I just pray that you and I are going to go through life just asking God to make us aware of those special moments that come along. It's interesting. I've got something of a reputation with my grandkids of telling stories, and I've recorded a lot of stories, put them on CDs, and they play them, from time to time. But without exception, those stories are not of me doing something remarkable. They're just common or garden things that happen every day. But the question is, do you see the humor in it? I remember telling the story of how I was going for an interview, and I was all dressed up in my nice suit, and I went into the men's restroom, and I turned on there were two like paddles on the faucet to wash your hands. I pulled them both on, and the water cascaded out of two different faucets. It formed like a perfect chute, and it shot. Must have been a gallon of water down the front of me. And here I am going into an interview looking as though I'm a total wreck. Well, that's funny. You just got to realize that's a funny moment. So, but I just want to be somebody that is sensitive to those moments. Lord, help me to recognize the moments that you give. Help me to have the courage to walk into them if that's what's needed. I'm not looking for those moments to get a laugh, but I'm looking for those moments where you're opening a door or where you have done something remarkable that I just don't want to miss. I want you to ring my bell and say, did you savor that? It's like Moses and the burning bush, right? It's like he could have gone by. He could have not seen that burning bush, but he was aware, he was sensitive. So Lord, make us moment grabbers. And also help us, Lord, protect us from our own stupidity. because it only takes a moment to take us off course. It only took a moment for me to fall down those steps. It only took a moment for that man's life to be changed when he slipped off the roof. Incidentally, when I heard that, I have never been on a roof since. I just told Denise, I'm not going back on the roof. I'll pay somebody else to go on the roof. But I know one little slip can change our life. So Lord, help us keep my eyes and my ears open for those moments. Help us to be nimble. Help us to be humble. Help us to be grateful. And how about you? Would you like to be a moment grabber? Somebody that is just alert. Keep us in the present. So often we drift, but I want to be here. I want to be alert. I want to see what's going on. Keep us obedient, that when, Lord, you give us those moments, help us not just to say, oh, well, I think I'm supposed to do X. Help us to be people of courage. Do what he's prompting you to do. Be fully obedient. Be fully committed. And I believe the Lord is going to use the moments he brings across our pathway for his glory and for our blessing. Amen. Well, that's my thought for Friday. So Sunday, we'll be back together online. I know some people are wondering when we're going to get together regularly, and I've been talking with the church about that and talking with some people in the class, but just keep praying, and love you all, and I will be back on Sunday, and then the Lord willing, we'll be back on Monday too. So see you then. God bless. Bye-bye.